All right, let's dive right in. In this explainer, we're not just talking about making a few small tweaks to your life. No, we are laying out the actual blueprint for a total rebuild, a radical transformation from the inside out. So let's get into it.
But before we can build anything new, we've got to face a pretty tough truth. What if the biggest obstacle in your story isn't your job, your boss, or your circumstances? What if the real person holding you back is the one you see in the mirror every single day?
And that person in the mirror, the source material has a name for it: the old self. Now, this isn't some evil twin. It's the identity we've kind of accidentally built for ourselves, piece by piece, from our past mistakes, our biggest insecurities, and most importantly, all those little lies and excuses we whisper to ourselves. True transformation means declaring war on that self. So here's our roadmap. It's all broken down into 4 key parts. First, we'll confront that old self head on. Then we'll move through 3 distinct phases: deconstruct, reconstruct, and finally, reinforce. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, the first step. And I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the most painful one, but it's also the most necessary. It's all about facing the mirror with just brutal, unflinching honesty. Not to just see your reflection, but to really see the person you've decided you no longer want to be. Think of it less like navel-gazing and more like a diagnosis. And the foundation of that old self is built on lies like these. The source calls them out so clearly. I'm trying. That's a lie. I don't have time. That's just an excuse. I don't have the resources. That's fear talking. The very first act of transformation is to stop calling these reasons and start calling them what they actually are: self-deception. And that leads us to this. This is the mindset you have to adopt. It's a declaration. You have to look that old version of yourself, the one built on all those excuses, right in the eye and say with absolute conviction, you are finished. Now, this isn't about self-hatred. It's an act of closure. It's the final word that makes space for everything that's about to come next. So, once you've served that eviction notice, it's demolition time. I mean, think about it. You can't build a skyscraper on the foundation of an old rickety shack. You have to tear down the old structures first. The beliefs, the emotional baggage, the lies that have been holding you in place until now.
So how do we actually do this demolition? It happens in 3 stages. First, you drag all those lies we just talked about out into the open. Second, you burn emotional debts. That means forgiving yourself for past screw-ups and forgiving others. Not for them, but for you, to free yourself from that weight. And third, you consciously start to rewire the limiting beliefs that have been running your life on autopilot for years.
But the absolute core of this entire phase really comes down to this one promise you make to yourself. This becomes your new mantra, the fuel for the whole demolition. From this moment forward, you commit to brutal honesty, especially with yourself. This is the new unbreakable rule.
Okay, so the old structure is gone. You're left with a clean slate, an empty space. And now the real work begins. A new identity isn't something you just magically find. It's something you have to consciously, deliberately design and build, brick by brick.
And this slide, it just lays out the practical shifts so perfectly. The old you react based on how you feel in the moment. The new you act based on predefined values. The old you just drifts. The new you designs a routine with purpose. It's about fundamentally changing your internal story from I am lazy to I am disciplined, and then acting like it. So here's the actual blueprint for how to do that. It starts with declaring new I am statements. Then you sit down and design 3 to 5 core values that will be your North Star. You rebuild your daily routine around those values. And this is critical. You build one iron habit, a single non-negotiable habit that becomes the cornerstone for your entire new identity.
Now, this is so important. The goal is not some massive overnight change. It's not about being perfect. It's all about being consistent. The source material talks about the incredible power of just 1% daily progress. These tiny, consistent wins, they compound over time into something massive. Just focus on getting 1% better today than you were yesterday. That's it. All right, so you've deconstructed the past, you've started building a new you, but how do you protect it? The final phase is all about reinforcement. It's about creating an environment and a mindset that will defend and strengthen your new identity. Because trust me, the pull of the old self is strong. Just think of your day as a constant battle for your energy. We are what we consume.
The source material calls this killing low-energy inputs. For most of us, that chart is way too geared towards low-value stuff like endless scrolling and gossip. The goal is simple: consciously shrink that low-value slice and grow the high-value one, filling it with learning, deep work, and real connection.
Now, just pause and think about this for a second. We are all absolutely obsessed with managing our time, right? But what if we're focusing on the wrong thing entirely? The source makes this powerful argument that your greatest asset, it isn't time.
It's your attention. Seriously, burn this into your brain. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. The person who can control their attention can literally control their reality. Mastering this is the ultimate weapon for reinforcing who you want to become. And here are the tools to do it. You have to consciously sculpt your inner circle, because they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You build a learning engine to constantly upgrade your own software. You start to see discomfort not as something to avoid, but as training. And you use public commitments to hold yourself accountable and raise the stakes. And that brings us right back to the core truth of this entire journey. After all the demolishing, the building, and the reinforcing, you finally realize that the opponent was never the world. It was never anyone else. The real fight, the only fight, was always with yourself.
So the final takeaway here is actually pretty simple. Transformation isn't some magical event that just happens to you. It is a choice. And it's a choice you have to make not just once, but over and over again, every single day, with every action you take. So the only question left to ask is, what choice are you going to make today?